Okay, so we're live.
Yeah, hey everyone, it's One here.
Okay, yeah. Hey, how you doing, guys? So, we're back with a new video. This one is going to be on religion, and we're just asking, is religion necessary? Oh, can
Yeah,
you hear me all right on this? Is it okay, my voice?
yeah, I
Okay.
think it's okay.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, so we're asking, is religion necessary? And I think that we could look at this in two ways. We could look at it from just a life standpoint, where we say,
yeah,
is it is it necessary to have a good, productive life and, just have
mm-hmm,
a general well-being within yourself? And
mm-hmm,
you can look at it in spiritual context and say, is this necessary for me to go on to my next life or heaven or whatever
yeah,
you believe comes
yeah.
afterwards? So I guess one, do you want to start? And
I was thinking, yeah, maybe the reason I suggested this topic was because, so you guys probably already know that my background is a Chinese cultural background, and we generally, uh, at least when I was in China, we generally think people who have beliefs are nicer and they are more caring about others is because, and while, some other people who are probably atheist. Is that called atheist?
atheist, yeah.
Yeah, atheist. Who people are atheist are generally much more selfish and money driven, and so that's why I found it's really interesting about this topic. So is religion necessary for being a nice person? In this way, it probably doesn't make any sense by just saying that, but because China is quite, it doesn't really have a so-called religion, but Buddhism is quite popular over there, combined with some local beliefs like Taoism. So because Buddhism generally says don't kill anything, even including lives that you can't see. So you know they have the story saying that when Buddha drinking waters, the Buddha pulling the water to a cloth, and then he drinks the water afterwards. So it's like more like a filter. And then a person asked Buddha, why do you do it? And the Buddha said, because there are some small lives in water we couldn't see, and I'm not going to kill them. So generally, people who believe in Buddhism have the stereotype of being nicer. And then I was just thinking it's really interesting. I don't know what you think, Robert. Do you think it's more interesting to hear, some people are really nice because they have a belief?
Um, well, see, this is the thing. I used to have many stereotypes of different religions, but
Mm-hmm.
as I've grown up into the world, I don't believe they're necessarily true. For example,
Mm-hmm.
you could have a good Christian, bad Christian, um,
Mm-hmm.
good Muslim, bad Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
Even for me, I always felt that Buddhists, they were much more spiritual, humble,
Mm-hmm.
nicer, and they had this thing of taking care of life. And it's different from the Abrahamic religions, of
Yeah.
Judaism, Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
Islam, and it's very different from my own culture. But
Mm-hmm.
the way that I look at them, I do think that, yeah, perhaps they're nicer people, but you know what? Just by meeting people and experiencing them, I don't believe that's true at all. You could be atheist and you could be very nice. You could
Mm-hmm.
be an atheist and be just a total arsehole, basically. So I don't,
Yeah.
that's not really my experience. But I think the way that you present yourself, it matters a lot.
Yeah.
For example,
Yeah.
in Islam, many of the women, they wear the hijab and they seem
Mm-hmm.
very conservative and covered. And in a way, some people think it's oppressive, but in a way, I find it very nice that you're showing your devotion to God wherever you go. I think it's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also another aspect where a lot of these, no, I'm not going to say a lot. I don't know how many, but some of
Mm-hmm.
the people who wear the hijab, they go around doing the same things, sometimes even worse than girls who don't wear the hijab at all. So at times it can be a misrepresentation, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get too political, but just for example, in Saudi Arabia, you've got
Mm-hmm.
the royal family who are accused of God knows what, so many things. But
Yeah.
then again, they're supposed to be Muslim, and the way they present themselves, the face of it, and what they're doing behind the scenes, and how they
Mm-hmm.
impress people, it's not very good. So no, I would say that religion, it doesn't. No, religion has an impact in the way that you behave, but it doesn't. It
Mm.
won't make a good person bad, and it won't make a bad person good. That's my opinion.
But it's having like you said about the heaven and the afterlife. Do you think it in a way kind of um as it's there, it's there in the mind. It's either it's a reminder of a bit scary for people when they try to do something bad, and they kind of like warn them don't do it because by your belief you shouldn't do it. Is there some kind of like a warning effect?
Um, I mean, you know what? When I was younger, I
Mm-hmm.
felt that a lot in my life. I felt like, okay, I can't do certain things because I'll go to hell. And I was raised with a Catholic background, so
Mm-hmm.
that was very strong in my grandmother, I could say.
Mm-hmm.
And at times at night, I really this concept of hell was very
Mm-hmm.
strong in me, and I was just so afraid. I didn't. I remember one time when I was a child, I was just lying in bed and just thinking. I had this sudden, I had this
Mm-hmm.
sudden realization that
Mm-hmm.
my mum can't save me from death. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever had that before, but it's like I just realized that oh my
Yeah.
god, I could die, and my mum, she can't do anything about it. She can't save
Yeah.
me. And then
Yeah.
what can I do? So
Mm-hmm.
I just felt very scared, very afraid. And after that period, I became very religious. So I became I think from a young age, I was always very spiritually curious, you could say. And,
Mm-hmm.
I took to reading the Bible, to reading different New Age spirituality, looking into
Mm-hmm.
Islam. So many different things have occurred in my
Mm-hmm.
life. But I believe the concept of hell, it's sort of dying out in our age, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like God. There's this Indian guru. I forgot his name, but he's very popular right now. But he said that the reason why young people are acting so crazy these days is
Mm-hmm.
because the concept of heaven has died in our minds. Because
Mm,
before,
interesting.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's very interesting because before, let's just say you just lived a regular life. You
Yeah.
met, you got a job, you met someone, you had kids, and you just lived a very regular life. Whereas now, people want to do everything in one lifetime. And he said it's because before you could just say to someone, you know what, it doesn't matter if you don't have this right now, because in the future, because once you die, you can go to heaven, and all of
Mm.
these things that you desire, you can get it. But
Yeah.
now it's like the concept of heaven, it's just died in us, and we think that this is our only life. That's why
Yeah.
we have to go around and do everything in one life. You've got to experience this, and this because you're only going to live once. And it is a powerful thing. Now that these
Mm.
concepts have died and we don't know what to do with them, the young people, we are looking for other things. That's why you see a lot of people going crazy. So I think these concepts are powerful when they're there, and once they leave us.
It's really interesting because I guess this guy who proposed this idea had grown up in the age that where children generally believed in heaven and hell. So that's kind of a way that can they behave. That's one of the reasons why they control some of their crazy ideas. As we all have been children, we all have some shitty, crazy ideas to do to go wild. But as me as a child, when I was growing up in a communist country where we were not supposed to believe in any spiritual or superpower stuff. And it was really interesting because generally my story was no one in my class believed afterlife. You know, the Hindu, no, not Hinduism. I can't say it's confirmed because I didn't read it. I'm not sure if other countries believe the same, but at least in the Buddhism and Hinduism that brought into China, we generally believed in karma, and we believed in afterlife. So we believe the soul wouldn't die. So in this life you could be a human, and the next life you could be an animal, and then afterwards you could be a plant. So
Wow.
the soul wouldn't die. So if you do something bad, you probably wouldn't be a human again in your next life. And we didn't believe a thing. And it's used generally when people growing up, they started to believe in fate. They started to want to go to a psychic to tell their fortunes, and the Buddhism really came back to life generally in adulthood. So I guess if that's a way to explain children's behavior, it probably wouldn't be universal. It's more like a cultural thing. I guess it's in the Western society. It's because religion, the livelihood for religion is kind of slowing down and is turning down a bit. That's why people are trying to make sense of how children behaves different now and in the past. So I don't really support this person's idea, to be honest.
But can I ask a question? Because when
Mm.
I think of China, it seems like the whole concepts of communism and the party that
Mm-hmm.
comes before
Mm-hmm.
everything, even before the concept of God. You have to be below the party. So I need to ask, how do you feel as a Chinese person, especially like I don't want to speak too much about we've heard certain things that go on in terms of religion in China, and I don't want to
Yeah.
get too much into that, but generally it seems like religion isn't a big thing, like isn't as tolerated as it could be.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I guess that's why it's really interesting to define religion. Like when it comes to Muslim, when it comes to Islamic, or Christian, or Catholic, this is a very clear the boundaries, the definition is very clear. Whether you go to church, whether you read Bible, whether you do mass, I guess it's quite clear and what you believe. But in some Asian countries, it's not that clear. For example, in China, it's you do, or let's say if what is religion is that you believe in something and that thing has a system, has a theory behind, or you or does this count as religion, if that makes sense? So a lot of people in China believe something, but there is nothing really to read about. It's not like there is a Bible you can study. So people believe in something, and it's hard to tell whether they are religious or not. So the reason why I guess we can see China is not very open to many religions, especially to Christian, is because it's very clear to define who are Christian.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's for like like spiritual thing that my mom's believes, my lot of friends' parents believe. Everybody does in more or less, but it's really hard to say you're wrong because you can't prove that they believe in something. But
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
spiritual thing over there.
Well, you know what? Something that I've been thinking about lately is the whole concept of is well, I'm looking at it from a Christian perspective because
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the West and Christianity was mainly what most people knew
Mm-hmm.
until the result of mass immigration. And now we have many more Muslims coming over. But
Yeah.
I want to, I mean, I've been looking at how Christianity was spread, and in particular, how it was given to African people. And
Mm.
it's interesting because have you heard of the Mormon Church?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so the Mormon Church, it has very, very few black people in it
Mm-hmm.
because they believe that we were cursed people or something like this. We came from Ham, who is this biblical figure, and he was cursed with black skin. Anyway, so I used to think, why do black people even become Mormons? It's stupid because it's basically it's a racist denomination of Christianity. They
Mm-hmm.
don't allow. Well, they didn't allow black people to become. I think it's their equivalent of an archbishop or a bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what interests me is that 100 years ago, it wasn't possible for a black person to become a bishop in Christianity, in Catholicism. So,
Mm.
um, I grew up in a Catholic household, and many other black people as well, even in Africa, they were given Catholicism and Christianity, but it was given to us in a way that we were lower than white people, basically. You
Yeah.
were viewed as this is to civilize you. You're
Mm.
basically a barbarian, but this will
Mm.
civilize you. So I sort of ponder, well, if we need this religion in order to civilize us, then is it really a world religion? Is this a religion for every single person? Because
Yeah, it's like I'm not quite sure. Does Christian believe in everyone is equal?
well, now they do. That's the thing. These
Yeah,
concepts
yeah.
were only less than 100 years ago. So
Mm. Yeah, I was going to say if the guide the book says you should believe in equal, and then why didn't you believe in like equality? That's really ironic. Yeah, but I get what you said about how Christian was brought to black people. It's roughly the same idea of how they brought to Asian people.
right,
And all the Christian. So when that's why I said there's a stereotype in Asian countries that religious people are more generous, and they are nicer, they're kind. It's because when they so especially when you go to Hong Kong, you would find a lot of churches and a lot of schools, and they are quite religious schools. So like for example, my boyfriend, he went to a Catholic primary school, Catholic secondary school, Catholic, and even Catholic university. And when I was in Hong Kong, I went to a Catholic hospital, and all those are good ones. Even now, so even now they return to communist countries, but it's still those religious places like hospital. They are still the advanced ones. They are still viewed as the as has a better not technology, but better facilities and more skilled doctors.
right,
So in a way that in the you can imagine in the wartime, so all those religious people, Baptist, no sorry, there's churches they open to poor people, they feed them. So that's how they get the stereotype of religious people are kind and has a soft heart. And in a way, you can say it's more like civilize you with our beliefs, with our education. I guess it's in a way it's the same. But if you actually think about it, it's really about I don't know. It's really about privilege in a way.
mm. Wait, can you explain privilege in what way?
Privilege in a way that people who are white Christians think they know better than the others. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if you feel the same.
I mean, well, see, this is the thing because I didn't feel the same until recently when I was
Mm,
learning about the history. Because
mm,
a lot of these concepts, which were quite popular 100 years ago, and
mm-hmm,
it seemed almost universal,
mm-hmm,
everybody believed in. But now it's like they reject it and they say, oh, we're sorry for the past. They were wrong. We didn't mean that. But we
mm.
still have the same religion. And now, what's most interesting to me, because we just before we were talking about whether it makes you a good person to have a religion or not, a lot
Mm,
of the people, a lot of the atheists, they
mm,
didn't believe in this concept that black people were less civilized,
mm,
and they didn't believe in forcing them to give up their traditional beliefs and religions, but a lot of the Christians did. So
mm,
a lot of the Christians were supporting slavery and colonization, and they were using the Bible to justify it. But a lot of the people without the religion were doing the opposite, and they were saying, "No, this is wrong," and they were denounced as heathens, and no, like you're going against the Bible. So it's very interesting. But
yeah,
yeah, and when I look at it today, do I
mm,
think that white Christians act like this? No, because I never grew up in that. I grew up in a system which said that we are all created equal, no matter what color, black,
mm,
white, we're all one in God's eyes. But
yeah,
I don't know. Just there are some examples. There was a person recently who went over to that little island in where was it? It was close to India. Do you know that
mm,
untouched island, which is
untouched island.
yeah, it's untouched. It's
Yeah.
been there thousands of years. Like nobody ever goes there. When people do go there, they kill them, people on the island.
Ooh. Oh
So
yeah, I know that
yeah,
place.
yeah,
Yes, I do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So did you read about that story?
Which
Um,
story? I'm not
there
sure
was a
if it's the
missionary.
same. Yeah.
Well, there was a missionary who went
Mm.
over there recently. It was about maybe 2 months back. He
Mm-hmm.
said that he is going to give the people the Bible, you know?
Mm. Yeah.
And then they told him of the risks, and it's illegal to travel to that place anyway. But he
Mm-hmm.
went there by boat, and I think as soon as he got there, they shot him with a lot of arrows, basically, and he
Yeah.
died.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Right.
and a lot of the comments reading about it online, people were condemning the man. They were like, "Why on earth did he go there? Who does he think he is?
Yeah.
Leave the people alone. You know that they don't want to be bothered, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and
I mean, I definitely hate those people. Like whatever you believe is, even if you're atheist or you believe in something, you shouldn't have the assumption that what you believe is better than the others.
yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
think I think that's one of the reasons why some people don't really fancy really religious people. As I have met in a this is really funny. I sorry, it's just a quite short story. So I met a guy in the tube and he wanted to sit next to me. So I was like, yeah, it's fine. And then he sat down and then he started to talk to me. Mm, you are God's child. I was like, what? And then he's like, you should believe in God. And it's really out of sudden, and I really don't appreciate people. They are too enthusiastic about what they believe, but I think it's not right to persuade others to believe in what you believe in, whether or not you truly believe that's the only way to save yourself and the others.
Well, see, but here's the thing. Do you think it's the only way to save yourself? Because if we look at it from a spiritual perspective, is it really the only way to save yourself by having a religion?
Yeah, I guess let's go back to our essential topic about this podcast. Is I think it's essential to believe in something, but it doesn't necessarily to be a religion. You know what I mean? So you
Hmm.
should, so a person, let's say, quite common values. You should believe in peace, believe in happiness, believe in helping others. You shouldn't believe in violence. You shouldn't believe in you know, it's not in a jungle. Whoever is stronger can win. So in school, you shouldn't bully others. I think it's necessary and essential for people to believe in something, and it is commonly valued good. But it doesn't have to be a religion. You don't need to read a book. You don't need to study other people's thought. If the thought is unless the thought is good, but the thing is there's no absolute things in the whole world that can be 100% sure good. So there is always, as long as there's light, there's shadow. So you can't say, oh, being nice to people is always a good thing. It doesn't stand that way either. So you can't always be nice to people. If that
Mhm.
person is bullying you, you don't show nice, you show them teeth,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
I think it's essential to believe in something, but I don't think it's essential to have a religion.
Well, these days, I noticed that a lot of people are turning away from religion. That's only my perspective,
Mm,
well, that's a general perspective in the West, but I think, if you look at a lot of young people today, they don't,
mm-hmm,
they complain about Islam, but then they complain about Islam taking over, but
mm-hmm,
they don't go to their churches on a Sunday. They
mm,
don't go to Bible study, they don't preach about it. It's just there are a lot of cultural Christians today, I see, where it's
mm-hmm,
just like your parents are Christian and maybe you took your Holy Communion or you go to church when it's Christmas or something like this or once every
mm-hmm,
few months, but it's
mm-hmm,
not really integrated in your life. And
mm,
this is where I think Islam differs because for in Islam, it's like the religion is part of your life. I'm not
yeah,
saying that Christianity isn't, but I mean,
yeah,
it the way that Islam is set up, it forces you to put it right into your life, even just praying
yeah,
5 times a day.
yeah, yeah,
Whereas
definitely, yeah, yeah,
there's no rule to say in Christianity, for example, pray this amount of times a day, even pray. Well, you've got to pray, but like even
yeah,
pray once a week or something. There
mm-hmm,
are less rules in Christianity, so
mm-hmm,
it's part of the reason why people have fallen away. But do you see
yeah.
any other reason why people are leaving religion in the West or even in the East?
Well, to be honest, I don't really want to like judge that much because I don't feel I live here long enough to be able to say. But what I feel is because in the past religion, because everything, I mean every thought is the same. It could be out of date. So a lot of Christian rules that I have heard people are generally not very happy with them are like I essentially like, for example, gay, to whether to support gay LGBT group or not, and about abortion and all those things. If you go back to hundreds of years, that's probably really right, and you can know the reason behind why they don't want to support them. But now in 2018, this seems a bit out of dated, and it doesn't fit in the current society anymore. I think that is one of the reasons why people are quitting this giant group is because what it says on the papers doesn't couldn't help them in their life. Because I always feel why people have religion is the same way I think why people should have beliefs. No matter what you believe, is because it's there, is a general guide for you when you get lost, when you feel confused and down. So if those beliefs could no longer help you when you feel really lost and isolated, then of course people wouldn't believe in them. And if you see you loved ones, you cared ones, and those religions is not only can't help does not just can't help not only can't help them but also make them suffer, then of course you wouldn't believe them either. That's what I that's what I think is going on now.
But there's a thing of if you remove one thing, you've
Mm-hmm.
got to replace it with something else.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of if you take away a hobby, you've got to replace it with another hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
yeah, or
Yeah.
if you replace one thing from your diet, you've got to add something else if you take that away. So, in
Yeah.
terms of religion, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people are removing religion. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what I see, I don't know if you would agree, but I see a lot of people are getting more into nationalism. You know,
Mm,
for example,
yeah. Yeah.
um, well, I could say from the black community, it seems like a lot of people they're trying to rediscover their roots again and look
Mm,
at what were we before
Yeah.
we were colonized, and they're looking into old religions and old concepts of spirituality, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what they're
yeah.
moving into. And now they're something called pan-Africanists. And then
Mm,
you have European white people who seem to be more nationalists. Okay, this is my
mm-hmm,
country, and this is where I get my sense of self. And even
mm-hmm,
though a lot of their culture comes from the religion,
mm-hmm.
they don't really, they're not into the religion itself. They're more into their country and their flag.
Yeah.
And yeah, and do you think that's a good thing? Is that making us better as people?
Um, I mean, I always think whatever people do to make themselves see the world better, see the world more clear is a good thing. But I mean, generally speaking, I think African culture is amazing, and the people used to say East culture is mysterious. But I think for me, it's more like African culture. And if young people that they are generally looking at Pan-African cultures and trying to trace their root, then it is good for the diverse of the global culture itself. So I think it's a really, really nice thing to do. And sorry, I feel like it's a quite general and broad, but I do think it's a good thing.
Yeah, in a way, I think it's good because,
Mm,
we're getting closer towards who we are as a people. But I mean, outside of the context of, slavery and everything. But
mm-hmm,
then again, I feel in some ways this divides people because then, let's say Christianity, it cuts across everything. You could be black, white, uh,
mm-hmm.
male, female. You could be from anywhere in the world. It's the
Yeah.
same for you. But then once you lose that, and then you're in another country. Okay, so I'm a Pan Africanist. You're a British nationalist. You're a
Mm-hmm.
this. You're a that. And then we divide the culture even more. Don't sometimes it feels like it's going to create friction in people because
Mm.
it's like there's nothing bonding us.
But the
Are
thing
we
is,
really?
but the thing is, you can't kill it. You know, like you remember last time we were talking about ethno states.
Yeah.
And then one of the reasons why Han Chinese can be that massive number is because Han Chinese imagine it as a religion, although it doesn't really write down like a Bible, so you can't really study it. But it's a culture in general, and that's how Han Chinese can control that massive land and then turning a lot of ethnic groups to be Chinese because it's easier to believe in your culture, to accept your culture, and they genuinely think, yeah, it's superior.
Mm.
And but the thing is, they can't kill it. So what would happen? Imagine what would happen. I'm not sure if you know the fact that Korea, both no, North and South, and Korea and Vietnam used to be a sub country of China. But the
Oh, I
thing
didn't know
is,
that.
yeah, they have to like a sub country for China for quite a long time. But the thing is, Chinese culture never really ruled them, and like Tibet. So Tibet has these like quite well known for its own religion, the Buddhism. But the thing is, after Tibet merged, like as a general, we call it as a whole country in Qing Dynasty. Since Qing Dynasty over 200 years ago, the culture is still there. You can't kill it. And for the small ethnic groups, they have their own culture living in China, the mainland, mixed with Han Chinese. Their culture is still there. I mean, it's their root is more or less being damaged and lost in history because of the mix on and the new cultures coming, new beliefs, and new religion coming. But as long as it is good enough, as long as people believe it, and as long as it's unique, they have something over there, it won't die. So as a group of people, I believe in the Western society now they trace back to their root in African countries. And those culture, even if you don't do it now, decades later, there will be a new generation trying to find it back because it's good, because it has its values. As long as it has its values, it can serve some people. And I believe that's the value of knowledge.
No, I think you put it in a very beautiful way. Okay. All right. Well,
Thank you.
I think we're going to wrap this up in a sec. So,
Yeah.
any final thoughts?
I no, I guess I just hope the world is. I'm quite positive about life. I guess I just hope everyone can find something they believe. Yeah. What about you? Do you believe what your thought?
For me, I don't know. I'm very much in a crossroads right now because
Mm,
I think I am part of those people who are looking back into our culture and saying, okay, what were we before colonization, before the white man came? But I'm not one of those people who rejects everything afterwards, you know. There are some
yeah,
very extreme black people who are just like, oh no, that's a white thing and I don't want any part of that. That's bad and blah blah blah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, for me, I totally reject those notions. Anything good, I accept because at the end of the day, we're all human. Just because you're Chinese and I'm black, it doesn't mean that okay, we're a different species. You know,
yeah,
we're
exactly.
born
Yeah.
we're born on the same earth. You know, when we die,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to go to a Chinese heaven or something, and I'm going to go to a
Yeah,
black heaven.
that doesn't
Even,
seem to exist.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Even though actually, it's really funny because these concepts existed a while ago. You know, even
Yeah, yeah, I heard it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, well, actually, well, not for Chinese people. They had in Christianity that there used to be a white. They believed in a white heaven where white
Mm-hmm.
people would go. Then they
Yeah.
believed in a black heaven where black people would go. And I don't know, for China, I think you just that you're
A
not
yellow
that you
heaven.
just live under the state under communism for eternity basically. Like I think isn't it what's the name of your prime minister? Not prime minister. What's he called?
Uh, is she?
Is he okay? I
Yeah.
can't pronounce that, but yeah, he's meant to live. He's supposed to be president forever, isn't he? Well, your leader. Well, he because you know he took away the law so that nobody has
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so you go
That's
to
funny.
white heaven,
Yeah.
black heaven, you stay under him for eternity. That's basically how it works. Yeah, yeah. So no,
Yeah, I
I
love
think that's
it.
hilarious. But yeah,
That's
you know,
hilarious. Yeah.
I don't know what is going to happen to us as people, as a species, but I do believe, you know, if
Mm.
God is just, then as long as we're good, kind people, we're going to go
Yeah.
where we need to go, you know? Because
Yeah.
life is very confusing and there isn't a manual.
Yeah.
And even if you get a manual which says, this is the
Yeah.
way, and this is the only way, then somebody else can come along and say, no, this is the way, and this is the only way. And it's just so confusing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to follow your heart.
Yeah, and
So,
this is a subject that since human has its own human thoughts, since we are different from animals, we start to think about, and this will never end. This is a permanent topic of a human being.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And, you know, like, even when you look at what people believed, like, Islam wasn't always popular, Christianity wasn't always popular, you know,
Mm-hmm.
even things that let's even we could look at the Roman times or the Greek times where they believed in so many different gods and
Yeah,
concepts. And
yeah, yeah,
where are these
exactly.
people now? Where are these gods now, you know?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
will all of these people be condemned? You know, you
Yeah.
think about it. I'm sure just like us, they're humans like us, good
Mm-hmm.
people amongst them, evil people, some people in the middle. It's so confusing. We don't know. Like maybe 100 years from now, the world could be very different. You know, something
Yeah,
else will rule our society. So
yeah,
in the end, what I'm trying to say is, I don't know. I don't. I
yeah.
don't. I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers, Sway. I don't know. But
Yeah,
yeah. So
this is the answer that worth hundreds of us, millions of us to seek using our whole life, and I certainly don't expect us to have a conclusion today, but I just hope our discussion can help you to think more, to open a different, to show you a different way of thinking, and we hope you will like our podcast today.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, and big up to Sabrina and Queen Jay. They're just two people in the chat watching right now. So yeah, and that's it. Hopefully, maybe next week or something, we'll come back with a new topic. But anyway, thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching us. We will be back and hope you like it and give us a thumb like and subscribe when we finally got our channel.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to close down now.